All right, let's give our praises to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, and Hakudash. Giving our praises to the Most High, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh. The name of his only begotten Son, whose true name in the ancient Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. And the Holy Spirit, which is in the ancient Hebrew the Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders of GMS. We call it the truth by the Holy Spirit. Honors to the brothers risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. Peace and blessing to the elect, who consist of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, who make up the lost 12 tribes of Israel, according to scripture and prophecy. The elect will be 1/3 of the Israelites during these last days are returning back to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, for salvation. While the 2/3 of Israel who don't seek the Lord in time be judged, destroyed with America. We back with another lesson through the mercy and spirit of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And the lesson's going to be titled Proverbs of Moses 97. Proverbs of Moses 97. So that would be the book of Psalm, chapter 97, which is the Song of Moses. So, Lord willing, chapter 97. Got a lot of notes on this one. So, Lord willing, these devices hold up. So we're going to start here. Matter of fact, this is the book of Psalm 97. I don't know these devices. Psalm 97. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai reigneth. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. So again, the Lord reigneth. Let the earth rejoice. Let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. So what does that mean? What does it mean the Lord reigneth? Because a Christian will tell you, yeah, the Lord is God and creator of heaven and earth. But they don't know what it means when it say that the Lord reigneth. Meaning he ruled his creation. Christians think that the Lord created existence and everything is just operating on his own will. No, the Lord reigneth, meaning he rules over his creation. Everything obeys his will. But the Lord reigneth, that's what the earth's gonna find out here at his return. So we're gonna jump here because see they think the Lord control the sun, the clouds, the air. He ruled over the animals. But they don't understand that the Lord, he reigneth over me. So let's get into that. This is the book of Daniel 4, verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and by the demand of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. You see that? The Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. You see that? So that's what it means that the Lord reigneth, meaning he ruleth not only over the animal kingdom, not only over the angels, but guess what? Over the kingdom of men. And guess what? He ruleth over Satan and unclean spirits as well. Christians don't understand that. But we're going to know that the Lord ruleth in the kingdom of men when he removed Esau from power and set Israel up in power next, which Israel will be the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. But yeah, that's why it say, and give of it to whomsoever he will. Give what? To whomsoever he will. The kingdom. Rulership. That's why when we go here to the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 10, we're going to start at verse 5. Yeah, about to eject. All right. It says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord. In a due time, He will set over it one that is profitable. So the power of the earth, meaning who the Lord sets up in power, because he ruleth in the kingdom of men. Men not doing in the earth what they want to do. No. Things that men do, events that happen in the earth, that's the Lord's doing. That's why I go on to say, in the hand of God is the prosperity of man. So Esau, the white man, he didn't come in power by himself because he was innovative or creative. They call themselves the founding fathers. No, the Lord put him in power. The Lord exalted him. Ancient Pharaoh, how did he come into power? It wasn't because of magic or, that's what came with it when the Lord put you in power, but the Lord exalted Pharaoh. So Esau and his technology, his military, his science, that was given to him from the Most High. But again, in the hand of the Most High is the prosperity of man. And upon a person of the scribe shall he lay his honor. And who was the scribe? That would be the prophets. And that honor goes into promotion. So the Lord is going to show that honor ultimately to the servants, the prophets. Beginning with the 144,000 in the elect of the house of Israel. And the whole world going to be at rest in that day. Because, matter of fact, let's go here. I think it's the book of Romans, the 8th chapter. Is it 8 and 19? Look at this. It says, for the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. That's when the Lord lay his honor upon the scribe. Goes on to say, in the NLT, for all creation is waiting eagerly for that future day when God will reveal who his children really are. So again, beginning with the 144,000, we're really beginning with the return of Yahweh Shah. Now, why is creation waiting for that day? Well, what does Psalm 97:1 say? The Lord reigneth. And it goes on to say, let the earth rejoice. Why would the earth rejoice? Because what it tell you, the Proverbs 29:2, that when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. But not just the people, life and existence, the earth itself is mourning under the hand of the wicked, who is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. That's why Romans 8 say, the creature. The creature is a similar word for creation. So you can take this word creature, really replace it with creation. The earnest expectation of the creature or creation itself, waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. Now let's look at this in the Greek. I think it's earnest expectation. Look at this. Earnest expectation. Dang, I can't remember what that word was. Oh yeah, because we got to go down a little bit. So this is why the creature wait for the manifestation of the sons of God. It's actually verse 22. It says, for we know that the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together until now. Which in the NLT is say, for we know that all creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up until the present time. Now, why is the whole creation groaning and travailing in pain? Because of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Now, look at this. The whole creation groaneth. And when we get this word groan, it says to experience a common calamity. When you get that word calamity, it goes into a disaster, a catastrophe, evil, trouble. But what it say? the whole creation groaneth together. So the earth is experiencing a common calamity. And a disaster that happened to the earth, that happened to creation itself, is Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Every day he's in the earth, that's another day of disaster. Because you got more GMOs, more chemtrails, more trannies, more philosophies, more evil being done in the earth. So every day you wake up to an alarm clock, you gotta go to work, you gotta pay taxes, you gotta breathe this air, you gotta give your money right back to Esau. That's a disaster. So Esau is that disaster that's causing all the creation to groan and travail in pain. Now, when we go here, travaileth in pain together, look at this. It says, travail in pain together. It says, an expectation of relief from suffering. Expectation of relief from suffering. So that's why the whole creature is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God in the earth. Because the earth can't experience no rest under Esau Edom. Creation can't experience no rest under Esau Edom. And that's why I say the whole creation groaneth and travaileth in pain together. So the entire earth is waiting for the return of Yahweh Shah. Not the earth, but creation. Waiting for the return of Yahweh Shah and waiting for Yahweh Shah to lay his honor upon the person of the scribe, which would be the prophets, whom the Lord gonna give rulership of the earth to. And under the rulership of the righteous, will the earth and life and existence prosper once again. I wasn't even supposed to go that direction, but that's where we went. Now we gonna come back to Psalm 97 and 1. The Lord reigneth. So meaning what? He ruleth in the kingdom of men. And eventually he gonna set up his people Israel. That's why the scriptures say the wicked gonna be cut off. But the meek, which would be, the elect of the house of Israel, that's who's gonna inherit the earth. But not just the earth, inherit creation under Yahweh Shah. That's why I say let the earth rejoice. So yeah, the earth gonna rejoice when the world see that it's the Most High who ruleth in the kingdom of men. Meaning what? Things that the wicked have done, they gotta be judged for. It says, let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. And that's not dealing with the Gentiles. The multitude of the isles thereof will be dealing with the scattered elect of the house of Israel. Now we're going to go into that. Because ultimately, it's going to be that 1/3 remnant that rejoice at the judgment. As a matter of fact, when we get this in the NLT, Psalm 97 and 1. It says the Lord is king. And see, like we say, Christians don't understand what that means, Lord is king. Meaning he's king over men. Let the earth rejoice, let the farthest coastlands be glad. And again, the farthest coastlands or the isles that represent the Israelites who will be saved here in his lifetime. Let's prove that. We're going to come to the book of... And that isles, in the NLT, says the farthest coastland, that's really dealing with America. Because what's the farthest from Jerusalem, which is in the east? It would be the far west, which is dealing with America. But let's go here. This is the book of Isaiah 11. We're going to start at verse 11. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. And this is that time. Because the first being gathered by the word. It says, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, Pathros, Cush, from Shinar, from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Which in the NLT, it says in all the distant coastland. Well, the most distant coastland is dealing with America. Because this is the place where most of the salvation will take place. But the salvation, the second Exodus, is going to be worldwide. But you see, it started talking about gathering the remnant of the house of Israel. And what it say? They're going to be gathered either from the islands of the sea. And then when you go to verse 12, he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. So Psalm 97:1, the Lord reigneth, where the Lord is coming to establish his kingdom in the earth, because he ruleth in the kingdom of men. He gonna take out the wicked and set up the righteous. And it says, let the earth rejoice, because the earth gonna be at rest the day that the sons of God are made manifest. And let the isles be glad thereof. Why? Because we're gonna be saved from our enemies. And we're gonna have rest. And then let me go here next. Chapter 14. The phone moving kind of slow, so we got to flip through the book. Isaiah 14, we're gonna start at verse 5. Look, matter of fact, we got to start at verse 4. That thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. This is dealing with America today. And say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked. So this Babylon is dealing with the wicked. So the wicked being Esau, Edom, which Psalm 137 tells you pretty much that eventually the daughter of Edom will rule in the future Babylon. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. That's why America's fallen. That's why she's going to be destroyed. That's the Lord breaking the staff or the scepter of the wicked. The staff and the scepter goes in the rulership. That's why these nations are at war. He smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindereth. So yeah, we saw Edom is going to be judged, and it's nothing nobody can do about it. Nobody can come in between the judgment that's coming to Esau, Edom, who ruled the nations in anger. Meaning what? He was the hammer of the whole earth, putting tariffs and sanctions on everybody, put military bases all over the earth, putting data centers all over the earth, made the whole earth take the hokey pokey, gonna make everybody on earth take the microchip. That's who ruled the nations in anger. Dropping bombs on everybody, Epstein Island, little boys and girls all over the world coming up missing. Children and women being raped all over the earth, having their resources taken. Look at this. The whole earth is at rest and it's quiet. They break forth into singing. That's the rejoicing. See that? The whole earth gonna be at rest at the manifestation of the sons of God. Because at that same time, the wicked gonna be cut off from the earth. So it say the earth gonna be at rest. Hey, the earth ain't experienced no rest for like the past 500-600 years since Esau came into power. And in 500-600 years, we've been here again, lifetime after lifetime. So we went through multiple lifetimes with no rest. So we don't even know what that feels like. And then as a nation of people, We ain't had no rest since the days of Solomon, really. So we're gonna go here to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 5. And we're gonna show why we know why the earth needs rest because it's under the rulership of the wicked. But we're gonna show you that it will be the wicked, Esau, Edom, that do these things in the earth. So we're gonna come to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 5. And tell me, do this not sound like Esau? Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. You know what? He in everybody else's country, causing trouble everywhere else. Military bases all over the world. It says to enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied. But gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Now, let's look at this in the Hebrew. So when we go to neither keepeth at home, we got to come to the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. So neither keepeth at home, when you read it, it says he is a proud man and does not rest, but seeks disturbances and wars. So that's what Esau, the white man, do in the earth. He never sitting down. He's somewhere causing trouble and mayhem. He's somewhere lying, stealing, raping, and murdering at any given time. Every second of the day, somebody being lied to, somebody being raped, and somebody dying and starving because of Esau, Edom, so-called white man. But that's why it say, a proud man, he does not sit down and rest, but seeks disturbances and wars. America been a country for 250 years. And about 94% of the time, America has been at war. And we can link that up with the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 4. To show even more, this is dealing with Esau, Edom. And there went out another horse that was red. What's one of the few times you heard this color red being mentioned? When Esau, Edom was born. Genesis the 25th chapter. And power was given to him that sat thereon. So you damn Christians, they put the emphasis on the red horse. The red horse is not the problem here. It said him that sat thereon. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. So the red horse not taking peace from the earth, but the rider of that red horse, which is dealing with Esau, Edom. What it say? He was given a great sword. To take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another, there was given unto him a great sword. So what's him taking peace? People killing each other. That's war. There ain't never been no world war till Esau, the white man, came in power. Taking peace from the earth, that's not only through war, him tampering with the food and the water. That's taking peace. You got to look at your ingredients list. That's him taking peace from the earth. You got trannies and LGBTQ reading to elementary schools, corrupting the minds of the kids. That's him taking peace from the earth. Data centers and 5G and 6G towers all over the place. That's him taking peace from the earth. But that's Habakkuk 2 and 5 when it says, neither keepeth at home. Meaning he don't rest, he a proud man, and he seeks disturbances and wars. I haven't seen Satan do any of that yet. But I do see Satan convincing Esau, even the white man, that he can do these things in the earth and get away with it. That's why Psalm 97 and 1 say, the Lord reigneth. Let the earth rejoice. So the earth is going to rejoice when the Lord takes action here on the earth. Shalom to the brother Yawanathan Bakar. Shalom to the daughter Yahweh. Shalom to Marilyn Diaz. And we're going to shalom to my brother Kabak Shana. We're going to get this In the book of Isaiah 42 and 8, I am the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, that is my name. And my glory I will not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. So yeah, what the Lord doing on the earth, you can't give that glory to Satan. You can't give it to Jesus. That's why he got us speaking it. And I don't know if I'm gonna get to that point in the lesson today, but that's why he got us speaking it. And then what? The Lord gonna act on it. So you gonna know who did it. That's why the scriptures say that they should know that the Lord have done it. And then this is Ecclesiastes 10 and 4. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord. And in due time, he will set over it one that is profitable. Profitable to what? Because what did the Lord say? He came to bring life that they may have life more abundantly. So the Lord is going to lay his honor upon a person of the scribe. He's going to set up his prophets to be kings and priests of the earth so that the earth can actually thrive. That life in existence, the creature or creation can actually thrive. Because what we doing in the earth ain't living. Waking up to an alarm clock is not living. Paying bills every few days is not living. Working, nigga, any work, even if it's 10 hours, working for the devil, that's not living. Checking your ingredients list to see if nigga done put in it somewhere, that's not living. And this is the sound in the earth under Esau Edom. Traffic, sirens, trainings. This ain't living. This is Isaiah 14 and 7. Sounds so nice, gotta bring it out twice. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. This ain't quiet. Because really quiet goes in the rest. It goes on to say they break forth in the singing. Yet the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon saying, I was actually supposed to get this, the water. Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. And that's what the nation's going to say. Hey, once Esau Edom is taken out of power and destroyed, the nations ain't going to experience no more oppression, no more sanctions, no more terrorists, no more airstrikes ever again. There gonna be no more wars. There ain't gonna be no lack of resources. The nation's in poverty after Esau Edom is laid down. Now, continuing on, we're gonna get this. This is the book of Psalm 97, 2 through 3. Which I'm gonna get verse 1 again to lead us into that. Because look at everything we said, the next verse is gonna prove it. Let me get one again though. The Lord reigneth, let the earth rejoice, let the multitude of isles be glad thereof. To sum it up, it's going into the judgment of the Lord. That's why the next two verses say, clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. A fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about. Ask a Christian, they're going to tell you that the enemies of God are the devil and Satan and his minions. That is them who the Lord going to burn up. But we're going to see about that. So when it say clouds of darkness are round about him, it's pretty much speaking about at his return. Because the clouds, we're going to get into it, it represents the chariots. And the darkness represents the destruction. And we're going to show that. So we're going to hit this in the book of Matthew 24, verse 29. It says, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. So after the tribulation comes the nuclear destruction. That's why the sun is going to be darkened. It says, and the moon shall not give her light. It says, and the stars shall fall from heaven. What's some stars falling from heaven? The nuclear missiles. They're going to look like shooting stars in the sky, and they're going to fall to the earth, mainly to America and the land of Israel. And the stars falling from heaven, it represent the kings of the earth of this time too, which Isaiah 24 calls them the hosts of the high ones. And then did a video on it, and multiple people say that when the missiles come to America, they look like shooting stars. And you can see the videos yourself, with the hypersonic missiles, them cluster bombs that's tearing up Israel right now. So again, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, the nuclear destruction. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And the powers of the heavens, meaning those who in rulership right now. Because this is their kingdom, this is their heaven. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And the shaking is literal. Because Isaiah 24 tell you that the earth gonna rise to and fro like a drunkard. And that's gonna be the power of the Lord. And then showing more that the sun and the moon is gonna be darkened, we gonna jump here to the book of Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 1. Then we're gonna come to like verse 14. The great day of the Lord is near, it is near, and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man shall cry there bitterly. Well, why say the mighty man? That's dealing with the militaries of the earth. That day is a day of wrath, a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess. That goes to the nuclear destruction. A day of clouds and thick darkness. The mushroom cloud. A day of trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. What's the trumpet and them alarms? Them nuclear sirens. But that's why the sun and the moon will be darkened. It will be because of World War III, which we in World War III right now, but it's going to go nuclear. The sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. See, you got that word clouds. And what does 97:2 say? It say clouds and darkness are round about him. So the Lord gonna come in the midst of America's nuclear destruction. The missiles are gonna be like fireworks to celebrate his coming. And then what it say? He coming with clouds. But this word cloud is really a code word for the chariots. That's why we go to Psalm chapter 104 verse 3. It say, who laid the beams of his chambers in the waters, who make of the clouds his chariot. So really Psalm 97:2, take that word cloud, replace it with chariot. Clouds and darkness are round about him, chariots and darkness are round about him. So not only is America, land of Israel, other parts of the earth gonna be towed up in this nuclear destruction, the Lord gonna come with his arm, with the armies of heaven. He gonna come in his chariots with the world calls UFOs, and that's gonna block out the sun too. That's why they say every eye shall see him. Every eye gonna see him, because whatever he coming in gonna be bigger than the earth. So that's gonna block out the sun too. That's why I say clouds and darkness are round about him. And then going into verse 3, it say, a fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about. A fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about. The fire that's going to go before him is going to be World War III, the nuclear missiles. The second fire that go before him is going to be them laser beams from the chariots. So we going to get into that. But that's why the Lord said this in the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 49. I'm in John, Luke 12 and 49. It say this, I am come to send fire on the earth. And what will I if it be already kindled? And the fire is already kindled is World War III. it's going to go nuclear. So that's why Psalm 97:3, a fire goeth before him and burn up his enemies round about. The Lord didn't say he going to send fire to hell or to underground. No, fire to the earth to burn up the people. And then we're going to get this in the book of 2nd Ezra. Chapter 13, I think we're going to start at verse 2. We're going to get 3 through 11. So the first fire that goes before him is the nuclear destruction. And again, the second fire that goes before him will be the laser beams from the chariots. That's why 2nd Ezra 13 say this. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. And whensoever, hold on. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice. Like as the earth filleth when it filleth the fire. What does it mean they all burned that heard his voice? The Lord going to be speaking from the chariot commands to the holy angels. Burn this, burn that. And at the Lord's command, the holy angels on them chariots going to start zapping everything. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the men that came out of the sea. So this will be the militaries of the world that's left after America's destruction. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it. So the Lord's chariot is going to be like a flying mountain. That's what they said. I think they called it 3-Eye Atlas, an interstellar object. They said it was the size of Manhattan. Or they said it was like, I don't know, 12, I don't know, something crazy. They said like 7 or 12 miles long or something like that. But I would have seen a region or place wherewith the hill was graven, and I could not. So you couldn't see the beginning of it or the ending of it. And after this I beheld, and lo, they all which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he lifted up. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But I only saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire. What does it mean he sent out of his mouth a blast of fire? That don't mean the Lord blew a blast of fire. But I only saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flame and breath. And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all together, the blast of fire, the flame and breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon a multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived but only dust and the smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid. So that's why Revelation 19 speak about Satan and his angels would war against the Lamb. And that's why when you look at a jet fighter from the ground, it looks like an angel. You got the 2 wings in the front, you got the 2 wings in the back, then it got the nose, and then Esau literally called certain of his jet fighters, he called them angels. Like they had an old movie, it was called Hell's Angels. It was a war movie. Well, Hell's Angels would be Esau, the white man, and his military. But that's why Psalm 97:3 say, a fire goeth before him and burn up his enemies round about. His enemies will be the other nations. And we're going to prove it in the book of Psalm 83. Look at this. Keep not thou silence, O Lord. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Lord. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. You see that? It said thine enemies or your enemies, those who hate the Lord. And that begins with Esau, even the so-called white man. Goes on to say, they have taken the crafty counsel against thy people, consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. So this systematic oppression that we face in the earth is the hate that Esau, even the white man, got for the Most High, the God of Israel. It says the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab, and the Hagarenes. So it started listing off the Lord's enemies. It would be the heathen Gentile nations, beginning with Esau, Edom. Those are the Lord's enemies that the Lord gonna burn up with fire. And this will be for the controversy of Zion, for what the nations did to the children of Israel. With the main one being Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. And that's in the book, really in every book. Obadiah 1 and 10 said that for violence against thy brother Jacob, thou shalt be ashamed and thou shalt be cut off forever. Then when you come to the book of Isaiah 34 in NLT, I think it's verse 8 in the NLT. Look at this. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, the year when Edom will be paid back for all they did to Israel. See that? So that's what makes you an enemy to the Lord when you rise up against his people. And every nation has been an enemy to the Lord's people. Some worse than others, with the worst being Esau, Edom, the so-called white. All right, we back. So book of Psalm 97. I'm going to get 3 again, and that's going to take us into 4 and 5. Really start at verse 2. Clouds and darkness are round about him. Now we know the darkness represents the nuclear destruction. We know the clouds represent the chariots of the Most High. The world calls UFOs. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. So the Lord is bringing his throne to the earth. He's going to set up the kingdom of heaven on righteous judgment, which 2 Thessalonians 1 and 6 tells us that it's a righteous thing to recompense tribulation to them who trouble us. So the Lord got paid back the nations for what they did to his people. That's going to first, that's going to be the first move that goes into the building of the kingdom of heaven. Judgment got to be established first. And in the judgment ain't just senseless destruction, but it's going to cleanse the earth. That's also Isaiah 24. It says the earth is clean, dissolved. So the Lord going to use the nuclear destruction to dissolve the microplastics, the forever chemicals, and people. It's going to burn up people, thoughts, ideas, philosophies, Jesus. The very thought of them going to be dissolved. Because everybody who believe in them going to die in the fire. Trannies going to be dissolved. Because anybody who partake in the LGBTQ lifestyle, they're going to die in the fire. Anything that's outside of this truth here is going to be dissolved in the fire. Along with all the pollution. You say what, bro? You said live? Yeah, I'm on YouTube. What'd you say? A few. So this is the book of Psalm 97 as we continue. A fire goeth before him and burneth up his enemies round about. This where it get interesting. His lightnings enlightened the world. The earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord, at the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. Yeah, so we're going to get into that. And so when it say his lightnings enlightened the world, the earth saw and trembled, this is not dealing with people watching lightning in the sky, now they scared. Because when you pay attention, it said his lightnings lighten the world. It says the earth saw. When they're lightning outside, most of the earth don't see it because people be inside. No, but this lightning that's being talked about, it says the earth is going to see it. And when it say, they're going to tremble. Now we're going to get into it. But first, we got to get this word enlightened. Because it says, his lightnings enlighten the world. So let's look at this word enlighten. His lightnings enlighten the world. Let's get this word enlighten. Look at this. To become light, to become bright, to become illuminated. Goes into enlightenment, knowing the truth. And the lightnings is going to enlighten the world. It goes into the destruction, into the nuclear missiles and the laser beams from the chariot. More so the laser beams from the chariots. So the lightnings enlighten the world. So what? Everybody gonna know the truth in that day. At the Lord's return, everybody gonna be in the truth. Everybody gonna understand. Because the scriptures say what? In Psalm 90:16. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. Forgive me, y'all. I got my phone over here in the shade. And matter of fact, let's go here. We got to get the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 36. So when the Lord come and send judgment on the earth by fire, everybody gonna know the truth about the God in the Bible that day. So that's why he say his lightnings enlighten the world. But let's get this in verse 5. Look at this. It said, matter of fact, I gotta get this in verse 2. It says, send thy fear upon all the nations that seek not after thee. And what's that fear? It's going to be the judgment. Lift up thy hand against the strange nations and let them see thy power. So yeah, what's that power that they going to see? The wrath of the Lord. This is all about the nations seeing. See that? Goes on to say, as thou wast sanctified in us before them, so be thou magnified among them before us. And let them know thee as we have known thee, that there is no God but only one, O Lord. So the nations gonna get to know the Lord just as well as the prophets do. They gonna know because they're gonna experience the Lord firsthand. But that's why Psalm 97:4, it say his lightnings enlighten the world. Now we're gonna show what the lightnings are. Well, let's go here. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 77. We're going to get 16 through 18, and look at this. says, the water saw thee, O God. The water saw thee, they were afraid. The depths also were troubled. So the waters goes into the nations. So they're going to be in fear and trouble at the presence of the Lord. Now look at verse 17. The clouds poured out water. The skies sent out a sound. Thine arrows also went abroad. What are the arrows? The nuclear missiles. And then look what's going to happen after. The voice of thy thunder was in the heaven. The lightnings lightened the world. The earth trembled and shook. So where there's thunder, there's going to be lightning. So you hear the thunder first, then you see the lightning. That's why it say the voice of thy thunder was in the heaven. So his voice is the thunder. And the lightnings enlighten the world, because first comes the voice, that's the thunder, then comes the lightning. And this lightning is going to cause what to happen in the earth. It says, light in the world, the earth trembled and shook. So this type of lightning is going to put the entire earth in fear. So we're not dealing with regular lightning. But again, the voice of thy thunder was in heaven, the lightnings light in the world. And we should remember the book of 2nd Ezra, which we're going to go back there again real quick. And I believe we're going to get verse 4. But remember Psalm 77:18. The voice of thy thunder was in heaven, the lightnings light in the world. So came the thunder first, and then came the lightning. That's why 2nd Ezra 13, verse 4. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth. And what it say about the voice of the Lord is like thunder. But whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice. So when the Lord speaks, fire is going to come after. Lightning is going to come after. Those are the laser beams from the chariots. Those are his lightnings that's going to enlighten the world and cause the earth to tremble. So the Lord going to speak, and it's going to be like a thunder in the heaven. The whole earth going to hear it. And then the whole earth going to see the lightning. Those are the laser beams from the chariots. But that's why even when we go back down, but I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks of tempest. Those are his lightnings, the laser beams from the chariot. The Lord's voice is going to be like a thunder. That's him giving the command. And then what's going to be the after effect? The laser beams zapping everything up. People, places. Whenever the nuclear destruction don't touch, the laser beams from the chariots are going to finish. That's why, again, Psalm 97, 4 through 5, his lightnings enlighten the world. The earth saw and trembled. The lightnings being the laser beams from the chariots, with the thunder being his voice. The hills melted like wax. When you ever seen a hill melt from some regular lightning? No, but this lightning, the laser beams from the chariot, is going to melt the hills. So yeah, it's gonna melt land masses and buildings. But the hills really represent the nations. That's why it says the earth saw it and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord. At the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. So why I say the Lord of the whole earth? Because the Lord is going to bring judgment to the whole earth. And the hills are going to melt at his presence, with the hills being the nations. And what's going to cause the people to melt? His lightnings. In other words, the laser beams from the chariots. Like if you see the movie War of the Worlds. What happened? The spaceships started making that eerie sound, like it was charging up. That's the voice of the Lord from heaven. His voice being like a thunder. And then After the chariot made that noise, everybody started getting zapped. That's the lightning that followed. And it's going to cause the hills to melt. And that's why second Ezra said, nothing was to be perceived but dust and the smell of smoke. Because that's what the laser beams did when they hit the people. It was dust and smoke. Well, the Lord going to do that to a fraction of the earth's people. Because a fraction going to be taking on the nuclear destruction. Another fraction going to go underground. We the remnant that's going to be taken into outer space. And the other fraction, they're going to feel them laser beams from the chariots. And after that, we're going to come back down to the earth to snatch up the people that went underground because they're going into slavery. And that's why when we get this, the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10, it say, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise. And I believe that's Jeremiah either 50 or 51. It speaks about the sound of battle and great destruction. Well, that great noise is going to be the sound of World War III. All them nukes going off at once. The whole world going to feel it because the earth going to shake, and then they're going to be burnt up. And the whole world going to see it, and the whole world going to hear it. And the Lord going to make your senses HD. If you've been blind your whole life, the Lord going to open your eyes in that day. You're going to see the destruction and see his coming. If you was deaf, the Lord going to open your ears in that day. You're going to hear the destruction, and you're going to hear a so-called black man talk from the sky. So the Lord going to bring healing in that day. If you mentally retarded, or if you lost feeling in a portion of your body, the Lord going to give you your right mind back so you can understand what's going on and be in fear, because a retard can't be in fear because he don't know what's going on. Like you see a lot of these Edomites got cerebral palsy and retarded, the Lord going to heal their mind. So they could join the others in great terrible fear. Trying to get it sidetracked. This is the book of 2 Peter 3 and 10. The heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And gotta understand anything about lightning. Lightning is extremely hot. You saw the white man call it plasma. He say the fourth state of matter, but that's what's gonna cause the hills to melt. It says the earth also and the works therein shall be burnt up. See that? So what? The earth and the works therein. People, places, things, ideas, it's all going to be burnt up in the fire. But that's Psalm 97, 4 through 5. His lightnings enlightened the world, the earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax at the presence of the Lord. At the presence of the Lord of the whole earth. So again, his lightnings, that's going to enlighten the world, meaning teach people the truth of the Lord's judgment, and cause the hills and people to melt like wax, laser beams from the chariots. Again, with his voice being the thunder. And that's why Revelation 1 and 7 say this. Behold, he come up with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Oh, even Esau's science, he'll tell you that lightning comes from the clouds. But the clouds in this precept is dealing with the chariots of the Most High. The world calls UFOs. And the lightning that's going to come from them clouds, that's going to come from the chariots, will be the laser beams. Oh, and from a cloud comes thunder. But the clouds here, the chariots, that thunder is going to be the voice of the Lord. He come up with clouds, and every eye shall see him. And they also is pierced him. And all the kingdoms of the earth shall will because of him. So it ain't going to be just because the nation's scared. They see a bunch of black men coming from heaven. Well, they're going to be in fear because of that. But they're going to be weeping and wailing. Because the Lord going to be burning people up. Because you people, you Americans, y'all not in tune with reality. So let's say this. Let's say Yahweh do come back and we see him in the sky right now. You people not gonna believe it. Y'all gonna say it's AI. Y'all gonna say it's a trick. Y'all gonna say it's a balloon. Y'all gonna say it's Project Bluebeam. But what's gonna make it real when the Lord starts zapping folks? That's gonna make it real. So that's why the nation's gonna wail. They really not gonna be wailing until folks start getting zapped and turned into dust. You know, Yahweh come back, they see a black man in the sky, they gonna say Iran did it. They gonna say Russia did it. And no, that fire gonna make it real. But that's why Psalm 97 and 4 say his lightnings enlighten the world. That's what's gonna make it real. That's what's gonna make the truth be known. Because enlighten, it goes into knowing the truth. So in that day, everybody gonna understand. And the Lord spoke about that to Isaiah. But we're gonna get there real quick. This is the book of Isaiah. What the Lord is, what he looked like, who the sons of God are. Who was the wicked here on the earth? And we're going to get this last one, and I'm going to get the comment board. This is the book of Psalm 97, verse 6. The heavens declare his righteousness, and all the people see his glory. That's what's happening now. We the heavens. That's why the scriptures say conversation is in heaven. They say we blessed in heavenly places. Meaning we on one accord with the angels up in heaven by the testimony of Yahweh Shah. Also too, the heavens represent the internet. So that's why I say the heavens declare his righteousness. Because the internet, the videos are uploaded through the internet and phone towers, and it goes up into the satellite to be broadcast all over the earth, which is the World Wide Web. So, on them satellites, these internet towers is the righteousness of the Lord being declared. Now, what's the righteousness that's being declared? Let's get this in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 15, verse 3. It says, for to know thee is perfect righteousness, yet to know thy power is the root of immortality. So the righteousness that's been declared in the heavens would be this truth. This wisdom, knowledge, and understanding being declared in the heavens. That goes to the internet. Look what it say after. As a matter of fact, let's get this word declare. Because of course, American people got no understanding the words. So let's get this word declare. Because the understanding is being declared right now. So when we get this word declare, in the Hebrew, it says to tell, to make known. If you got to make known something, that means beforehand it was unknown. But that's why John 8:32 say you should know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Look at this. It says to declare, to make known, to expound, to inform, to publish, to declare, to be announced, to be reported. So the understanding is being announced, reported, made known, published in the heavens, meaning the internet right now, which is really the purpose of the internet in the last days. It's to declare his righteousness, that the truth may be taught. Now look what comes after. The heavens shall declare his righteousness, all the people see his glory. So after the Lord is taught about on the internet for so long, then the people will see his glory. Now, when you go to that word glory, it says reputation. And that's why I believe Habakkuk 2:14, as the waters cover the sea, the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord. So after the Lord is taught about on the internet, then the nations will see his glory or reputation, meaning they will get to know and experience the Lord firsthand. Everything we declare now, the Lord is going to put it into action. So when we talk about the raising up of the elect, the wicked being cut off, the nuclear destruction of America, the Lord destroying the kings and kingdoms and militaries of the world. That's all been declared right now. But the nation's going to see it. And that takes us back to Ecclesiastes 36:5. Let them know thee as we have known thee. And that's why Matthew 24 say the gospel of the kingdom will be preached to all nations. And then the end will come. That end is Yahweh Shah. That's why he's saying the beginning and the end. So the truth will be declared before the end will come. So proving that somebody in the earth got the truth, because the end is clearly coming. Yeah. We can't wait. We can't wait for Yahweh Shah. Well, all the creation is waiting on Yahweh Shah to come. Oh, thank you for that point, Marilyn Diaz. Like the Lord made himself known to Nebuchadnezzar, that was through the judgment. Well, the Lord gonna make himself known to Esau Edom, that's gonna be through the judgments. You know, the nuclear destruction, the laser beams from the chariots. The Lord gonna bring fame and glory to his name once again, like he did in ancient Egypt, which is another example. That's why the Lord said he would get his honor upon Pharaoh and his army. You go to that word honor, in that precept, that honor means respect. Because in Exodus 5, Pharaoh was saying what? Who the hell is Yahweh? Who the hell is the God of Israel? I don't know the Lord, neither will I let you go. Well, by the end of Pharaoh's story, he acknowledged the Lord. Well, the nations, they're going to acknowledge the Lord too. But that's why I say his lightnings enlighten them. So the judgments, the Lord melting people, they're going to know the Lord in that day. Oh, that's why the scriptures often say, then they shall know that the Lord have done it. But I think everybody that tuned in and will tune in, honor to the elders of GMS, taught us the truth by the Holy Spirit. Honor to the brothers, risking their life and freedom to push the gospel. And peace and blessings to the elect. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Sai, Bahashem, Kakudah. It's tomorrow, Lord willing, Shalom. Hey.